Hello, everybody. I'm back again with a different episode, a different type of episode. So today I'm going to be focusing more on lifestyle. And I have Kavita. She is here today to kind of talk to us about her life, the ins and outs, and what she does on a day-to-day. She is definitely well known in the social life world. Obviously, that's where I met her. You guys know me, I'm outside. But I felt like it was a nice transition into learning a little bit more about what people do on a day-to-day basis in terms of lifestyle, professionalism, and the most important part of life, networking. So, welcome, Kavita.
Thank you.
Thank you for being
having
here.
me.
No problem. So why don't you tell my and our viewers a little bit about yourself and what you do? Anything like that.
So I like to say everything I do is sort of built around community. I'm avid and passionate about being in community. I feel like that's how we met.
Yes.
I say I meet some of the most amazing people here on the dance floor, and it might seem like going out and like being in the party is just for the party, but like I look at it as so much more. So anything I do is really meant to sort of foster community and create spaces that are for everyone, and really just to also like amplify Ottawa, because I think Ottawa has a lot to offer, and I really believe in the potential of the city.
And it's getting better. I will say it's getting better.
I'll agree that I came in a little later because I'd been away from Ottawa for 15 years. Moved back 6 years ago, and so actually 7.
Well, congratulations.
Pandemic's not counted. We will
pandemic does not count.
But I just feel like I came in with a fresh energy in terms of realizing there was all of this stuff in Ottawa that I didn't even know about, having been, from Ottawa and like come and gone over the years. So I just feel very passionate about the city, what we can do with it, entertainment, nightlife, and just, bringing Ottawa to, making people believe that Ottawa has the potential that they will drive to Montreal for or drive to Toronto for.
Correct.
So my thing is organizing. I'm doing events right now, things that I think should be more like experiences. And I am a musician as well, so I perform.
She sings, guys. She sings. Beautiful voice.
Thank you. So I just want to bring all of my different interests and passions together, but do it through community.
Absolutely.
And building that out. And a foodie, so there'll always be food involved.
Absolutely. And I watch her stories, guys, and if you don't follow her, please do. You will see her tag on this, probably more so in the beginning of the video, but she is telling me and everybody else what to eat every single day, and it always looks so delicious.
I always say I'm chasing the good food. That's probably where most of my income goes. I'm like, oh, this is so hard. But we do have great food here, and I just don't think we get enough credit for the amazing small businesses we have here, the organizers that are doing really cool things. So as much as I organize now, like I always want to be someone who's shouting it out and spotlighting people when I can. So that's kind of who I am. I do have a day job, but I've worn different hats in my life. I was educated as a lawyer, and then I transitioned into having a music career, and then I left India, came back here, had to start from scratch. So I've like been in different seasons of my life, but always an organizer, always around in entertainment and music and the food. So you are who you are.
You are
no
who you
matter
are.
where you go, that it's gonna happen, and that's what's happening for me right now.
Okay, and I like that you said, you kind of disappeared for a while, like 15 years, and I'm finding that people that are either newcomers or that have take that step back and come back with like this energy and this vision that people that are stuck here they don't really see right away, because it's almost like we have tunnel vision. We're just going through the motions of life, so we're getting discouraged, or we don't have that same motivation or ambition. But being around a lot of newcomers, I'm starting to see that they are finding things to do that I'm like, where'd you find that? That's Ottawa? Wow. Okay, cool. It's really interesting. And nice to have that fresh outlook. So thank you for doing that.
I think you are on it as well, though. Like, considering you've been here, you put yourself out there and you go to the events and all of that. And I agree. I've been having this conversation with people. I was like, I get it. Like, when you're in the same city for a long time and you've kind of written it off as a little boring, you know, it's not the most commuter friendly. So sometimes, like, if you live in the suburbs, it's hard to experience a city in all of its color.
Correct.
But you know, I think like what we need to do is story tell a little bit more and remind people that maybe it was a little bit boring, but now stuff's happening.
Right.
We gotta believe in it and like come out and experience the things, and we'll change your mind.
Yeah,
change your mind about
and I'm trying to be non-lazy when it comes to social media. I know I can step my game up a lot more because I am outside, like you said.
Yeah.
You know, I do have a lot of content worthy stuff in my phone to kind of get that out there.
You're posting. And
I'm posting as much, but I know I can do better.
Hosting
and
a lot
hosting
of, like, cool events. And,
correct.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like it's a lot of the younger energy that is bringing that out, and obviously we operate on young energy, so we're gravitated towards that very naturally.
They don't need to know how old we are, but
they never will know, and I'm sure people know about my age, but you can be quiet.
But I just feel like we should be proud.
I'm very proud.
Look at us.
I'm
we're
very
like,
proud.
You know, we're living that youthful energy.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key to life too, is being happy, and it's about, you know, staying within that young energy, because I don't think anyone really truly feels as old as they are or whatever. So it's about, you know, finding joy in what you do, and, you know, and I think the happiest people are little children. Why? Because they're not letting the stress of every day kind of get to them. And I think that adults should at least carry that youngness in their hearts, you know, because we're all still kind of figuring it out as we go. So I do think it's important to stay young with your energy.
And sometimes, like, I look at what we do, like going and dancing and like enjoying the music in the city. I look at that as almost like that's such a privilege that we get to do that, and we have access to all of this. And I never take that lightly because I've lived in different parts of the world, and I know what it can be like when you don't have that sort of freedom to be able to just, as women, to just be able to go out and like have a good time and dance and like just live into your authentic self and like your desires. And I think of that as such a huge privilege, so I'll never take that for granted. And when I have access, I'll be on that dance floor. You can't keep me away.
And I think that I love dancing. That's just the thing that I've always liked to do. It brings out a certain joy, a certain energy, and a certain feel. I mean, I can go a little hard sometimes, but
we love that.
Why not, you know? But I think it's important to let loose, and, you know, like you said, because a lot of people do not have that freedom, especially women in certain part of the world, to explore that part of themselves and just have a good time. Whatever it is, just have a good time, you know. So it's
fuel for the rest of the week. 9 to 5s that we do.
I mean, 9 to 5 is great, but sometimes you just need to get out of that mindset and just have a little fun. Jeez.
Absolutely.
So why don't you tell me what a typical day of your life looks like, you know, as a professional, as a socialite, and a, you know, musician. How does that work for you every day?
So I think for me, work does take up a good chunk of my week. I try really hard to be able to also balance the things like the passions that I'm trying to develop and work towards. Like, I am starting from scratch. So it feels like I have to balance all of it. But somehow I find time to get out there, and like for me, I think going out and supporting a lot of the events that are happening, and also just working and collaborating with different organizers, I think is really important, because that's how you grow your network. But also that's how you learn the city, you learn the vibe, the energy, you understand what people want. So I try to balance the two. So my 9 to 5, I wear quite a few different hats in my day job, and so that does take up a lot of my sort of energy.
Yes, I know.
And like, but you know, we find a way.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to balance it all out.
We have to. Yeah. So a typical day for me, on most days, it's either just work, and then if there's an event and things like that, I'll go, or I'll try to work on just the content, and I do a little designing and things on the side.
Okay.
So I used to consider myself a hobby designer, but now I actually like support small businesses and stuff. So like it just using my skills and talents in a way that support people.
Yes.
And my dog takes up.
He's so cute.
My dog is my baby. So like I always have to prioritize her, and then my music as well. So whether it's me going to jams and rehearsals and things like that, or having gigs and stuff. So that's sort of like my life in a nutshell. It's the day job. I'm very passionate about social justice and DEI, and I get to do that at work. But you also see, if you follow me, you'll see like, I'm all about that.
I'm learning through your social. I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot going on in this world.
Going on. I'm sorry to inundate with information, but I feel like we have to talk about it and like share. If you have eyes on your platform, if you can use that to educate, amplify, or even like change a perspective, or bring people into a sort of world that they may not have been aware of.
Correct.
I want to try to use my platform for that. So so a lot of the social justice and work things, guest experience is my expertise in my day job, and then music and the events and organizing and seeing what we can do to create more experiences in the city. So.
Which is extremely important, because culture is important, being aware is important, everything is important in this day and age. You know, there's a lot going on, and I feel like I have learned a lot from what is actually happening from your I think I spent some time this morning like clicking on certain things, and I'm like, oh wow, this is actually really interesting and really concerning at the same time. But it just so you know, it is working, because it's touching me too.
That means so much to me, because I'm like, I know I'm giving people a little bit of whiplash. One minute it's like, this is the party we're going to, and like the next minute I'm like, this is what's happening in the world, and we need to like lock in and clock in. But you know, if it supports people like you with even being a little differently interested in something that you may not have known about before, that's all. That's all it's about.
That's all you can do, right? People will take in what they're willing to take in and what they can. And there's certain things that, you know, I will say I had to educate myself a little bit on, but I wouldn't be aware if people weren't sharing and if these things weren't.
Same for me. Like, I feel like I learned so much from people sharing. So it's like passing it on, I guess. Like,
that's all you gotta do. Pay forward. So what's something that most people that don't know you obviously will surprise them about you? Like, is there anything you could share with that?
I think I shared it a little earlier maybe, but I think the fact that I have a legal background and that I was a lawyer, because over here folks that I went to high school with may know that, but I did have a legal career for a while, and I did that along with music, and I did what South Asians will never do. I gave up a professional degree to go into music.
I'm shocked, actually.
I mean, I'm lucky that I've always done music my whole life, and so it was starting to pay off. And I'm a risk taker, but a calculated risk taker. So when I felt that it was something I could transition into without impacting my stability and my finances, that's when I did that. But I did both for a while together, music and law, and I loved both. Like, I think in my core, the social justice piece comes from me being passionate about the law, and people are always like, why aren't you doing it here? I'm like,
I was gonna just ask that.
It's just it takes a lot. I'm inspired by folks like you that are like, you know, doing multiple things and making sure you get your credentials to, you know, be able to do the professions you're passionate about. I am looking maybe to do something a little more universal, because the law can be a little geographically, regionally limiting.
Correct.
So I always want to take my background and my interests and passions into whatever I do. Does that mean going back into the law? I don't know. Maybe something law adjacent. I get FOMO every now and then, but that's a big part of me that people don't often expect, I think.
I did not expect it, because you know, you never know what everybody is really up to or what their interest is, and you know what their background is, and I think it's pretty cool. Knowing you a little bit better now, I'm like, okay, I can see that. I can see the lawyer, the law in you.
I'm just like going into like a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, maybe a bit of a buzzkill sometimes, but hey,
it's okay.
we'll dance it
it's
out.
who you are at your core, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised anymore, but I would not have guessed that. Like, I don't even think anyone would really guess what I do either. But it's interesting. It is interesting, and just knowing, you know, what you're about and what you're passionate about. It all makes sense to me.
I love that though.
It all makes sense.
At least that means we're being authentic about
Absolutely.
ourselves and living
Absolutely.
into it. So that, I mean, that's a struggle I've always had. Like, am I being my authentic
Oh,
self?
yeah.
Like,
Yes, you
what does
are.
that mean to be your authentic self? So I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, and I know that you're being your authentic self because people are gravitating towards you. You have this light that it's like, who is that girl in the corner? And I know that's how we kind of met. And I know we met
You
at
too. We
just like
grew to each other.
I know, just two lights like coming
Yes,
together.
exactly.
And I will say, I know we met last summer.
Yeah,
this
it's our
time
1 year anniversary.
1
I
year,
feel like.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that day.
It was a good
I
night.
don't remember that day, but I remember the second time I saw you. But you look so familiar, and I'm like, where did I see this girl before?
But I remembered you. I was like,
everyone did.
we're dancing.
And that's how we met. We met on the dance floor. We danced and got to talking and all that stuff. And then we're just at the same event, you know, part of the same kind of circle, which is nice. So it's just nice gravitating towards your people and like the people that you're kind of similarly doing what you're doing outside of their professionalism and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I think that's the beauty of what we like going out and networking. I would consider you not just a friend now because of like us dancing together, but also like, you know, what you do is so interesting and fascinating, and I feel like I can learn a lot from you. And like that's the kind of thing that I think people underestimate about being out and connecting with people and growing communities. So that's why I'm like, we gotta keep
gotta be
meet
outside,
people, you know?
guys.
Yeah.
Like, so that's the other thing. I think people take partying in the light that we show it as just that.
Frivolous.
Yeah, but people don't understand. I've networked so hard in these spaces that it's brought me opportunities. It's brought me even leads, you know, with my real estate and stuff like that. And, you know, it's a great way to connect. You know, everyone talks about connection. The best way to connect is just, you know, introducing yourself, you know. I'm not saying go out and party, everybody.
But not saying don't.
But not
either.
saying don't either.
You might be missing an opportunity and an avenue or a funnel.
You never know who you're talking to.
Who you're trying to develop.
Exactly. And I think it's just worked for us.
It has.
It really has.
I think what is cool about meeting people in like a less formal environment like that is you truly get to be casual and like they get to know who you are at your core. And like I think there is something when you go to a business meeting that can be, of course you still want to present yourself as professionally as possible, but unless you're like going wild and like
well, yeah, you know, don't do that moments, in that setting.
You know, but I think when you meet people at a party or at some place where your guard is down a little bit, they really get to know you better. And like I think the potential people see in you when you're visible and lively and kind of doing what you do is honestly underrated.
And you kind of get the people that want to be gravitated towards you based on those attributes about yourself, that you make the proper connection, you know. And I do like business networking. Don't get me wrong, but I do feel the intimidation around it, and people are not really being themselves. They feel like they have to talk up a storm about what they do, or how many deals they get, or whatever you talk about these things. And I don't feel people are in their natural element. So I find when you're in certain type of spaces, that's when you really get to know people in the best way. But yeah, that's what we do, guys. Meet us outside.
You know, I think about when I say like I am who I am and I feel like I'm doing exactly what I did back home. When I came here and I had to start like interviewing for jobs, I realized I'd never actually done that back home because I'd been exactly like this. I used to host events and I did artist management and I ran like music events and programmed for venues and hotels and things like that. So I was very visible and I was big on networking even then. And a lot of the opportunities that came my way were because people saw me and they could see what I would bring to the table. I think my value was kind of showing itself when I didn't even realize it.
Right.
So I feel like a lot of opportunities kind of came my way and I didn't necessarily have to reach for them.
Right.
Or I manifested things, but like even through networking, you're talking to people about the things you're passionate about, and then they'll remember you and connect you with someone. And that's starting to happen a little bit for me, thankfully, knock on wood, even here.
Right.
And I think, again, underrated. Like,
It's
that
so
is
underrated.
such a great way for people to get to know you. And also, that kind of networking is very different.
And then I feel like it's like how I see it is like planting a seed, because I think a lot of people, we're so used to instant gratification. So it's like if you made this connection today, you think you're going to have some sort of like outcome tomorrow, but it's not. It's about planting those seeds and like so that these people remember you, you know, based off of what you do. So I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. And that's pretty much all I do is like some people reach out to me and I'm like, they're like, do you remember me? And I'm like, no, but yes, I do. Because it's like I planted that seed at some point in
memorable,
time. Exactly.
Right?
And that's what you have to be if you're trying to connect and, you know, grow something, you know, especially from scratch. You got to be remembered.
And I will acknowledge, just to like follow up on that might be an extroverted sort of tendency. So if you're a bit of an introvert, it may feel like
harder,
a little harder, but I think that's when being in these more social networking spaces is actually a little easier because you're not trying to present yourself as anything. You can be a little more casual about it. So even for introverts, I feel like it's kind of a nice place. Like you can start, even if you start off a little shy, as you keep going out, you start getting recognized, you become a part of a community without even expecting it. And then you can kind of ease your way into talking to people and making those connections and storytelling about who you are. And also the stakes are a little lower because you're going into it more like, hey, you know, we just got to know each other.
That's it.
You know?
Just conversation.
This doesn't mean there's something here. I'm trying to get something out of you. Like, if something happens, great, but that's not the intention you go into it with, which is what makes it so special.
And it's not natural to just like talk to people to sell them something. You know what I mean? You're talking to people on a daily basis just to, you know, gather that connection with them and stuff like that. So yeah, you're right. Introverts, you know, would do better in these spaces if they find it very hard to like approach people and stuff like that, especially at the business network. They're pretty awkward. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like I would be awkward in a business network.
I am too, actually. I can be. You know, luckily sometimes if they have champagne or wine, it's easier. But
just a little bit.
But it's not easy because it's intimidating, right? But if I'm in my element in a different kind of setting, you know, we're talking, you know, house party or, you know, the kitchen counter events or something like that. It's easier because it's like, it's more, like you said, more relaxed. Your guard is down and you have the opportunity to be yourself, right? And then conversations just happen and then you say something, somebody says something, and then you're like, then you guys kind of connect the dots and you realize like what you're about and stuff like that. So totally agree with that. Okay, so what else? Oh, actually, this is interesting.
Okay.
So can you share a moment when you almost gave up and what kept you going? Because girl, I'm
almost gave up on what? You know, like
anything.
Which are the things?
I know, right? Like sometimes I have to talk myself out of things.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah, I think I've always been I've had to be resilient, I think, in my life because I've moved a lot and I've had to kind of restart in different places. I don't feel like giving up is often an option for people of color, for women of color. Like, you have to keep hustling. Of course, like, there are moments where you're like, okay, this is a lot, and especially when you're in the West and you're a little more alone. Like, coming from India, there's a huge community-driven sort of experience, and it's not so much like that over here. Like, I definitely tend to feel a lot more alone, and not like in a lonely way. I definitely don't feel that, but you are in a way on your own and figuring things out. So in those moments, it's like, can I balance everything? And like, what do I need to prioritize? Like, is this a moment where I can't do it all? You know?
Yeah.
And I think I've experienced that sometimes with the music. Sometimes I wonder, like, is there like a time frame on it? Like, am I getting too old for this? Like, should I step back from it? And then I'm like, actually, no. Like,
No.
what am I doing?
No.
Like, no, just keep doing what comes naturally.
Correct.
So I do a lot of self-talk. It can be negative sometimes, but most times I'm trying to like remind myself that, because you have to. I mean, you can't rely on people to validate you and get you through things. I think at work I've had moments where I've been like, is this the right path for me? And do I need to sort of like, what am I doing? This is not where I imagined myself being. I really didn't. Where I am right now in my life is not what I envisioned for myself 10 years ago, 20 years ago when I was in law school or getting my master's. Like I didn't think I would be doing the job that I'm doing right now. I definitely didn't think I'd be starting from scratch at, this age, whatever
Girl,
that is.
I get it.
Hey, listen, we're okay with how old we are, but
I'm very okay with it, but boy, this feels like the time is ticking.
Yeah, it can feel like that. And I think at this season of my life, I've gotten a little more comfortable with time.
Yeah.
And I've realized that I need to just sort of keep doing what I'm doing, because what's great about it is I'm not someone who goes into anything with expectations. I hope for the best, but I'm not going into anything thinking this is going to pay off in this way or that way.
Right.
But I do think everything you do is a window of opportunity to something else. Not bigger or smaller, nothing. Just something else. You don't know what's out there. And that's the magic of just life in general. So that's kind of what I tell myself every time I feel like, what am I doing? Like, should I back up? Like, should I be? Should I go back? Like, what am I doing over here? But I think my tiny bit of competitiveness is like, I'm not giving up.
Girl.
I will not be feeling like I failed at something. Because what is failure really? It's just like your road, your like stepping stone to the next thing.
Correct.
So. Not a big expert on it, but I think success can look so different. And that's the thing. If you don't feel like you've achieved what you imagined, it can make you feel like you shouldn't invest in it.
Exactly.
And I feel like at this point, I got time. Like, let's invest in ourselves, So
and I think what you're saying, it's the saying speaks so loud to me. It's the saying, expectation is the mother of all frustration, right? Yeah. Because the more you expect, the more frustrated you get and the more disappointed. So you're not supposed to go into anything with any expectation, and you're not supposed to have any expectation over anybody, because anything can disappoint you. So I do feel like this is the first year, maybe last year too, was the first time I ever felt like, what the heck am I doing? What am I doing? Am I going in the right direction? Suddenly I just feel like I'm not doing enough, or things are kind of going backwards in a sense. And it's like, how do I get myself to a space where I feel like everything used to feel like when I was, coming up. But then the truth is I will never get there, because, you're supposed to enjoy the process and not the success, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because that's what I'm reading upon a lot of like highly successful people. They say that they miss the process of getting that success. That adrenaline.
Something's happening.
You know what I mean? Because once you reach it, whatever whatever is success to you, it's almost like that's when you kind of go into a little spiral or a depression, or because you're not focusing on the right things. You're looking at an end goal, but usually nothing really ends. Like, life is continuous.
Yes. Exactly.
And every level there's a new devil, is that what they say? But there's a new challenge.
Every level
a new devil. So it's like, how do you conquer it? And it's like, you have to get comfortable with understanding that life is just nothing but stepping stones. And you just have to enjoy that as you go.
All of these like constructs and ideas and limitations we put for ourselves, like, okay, you go to school, you're studying for this is going to be your career. I did those things and like went in many different paths. And so I had to get comfortable with the fact that I'm going to experience life a little differently from maybe what my family anticipated for me, what I anticipated for myself. And it is what it is, but like, we got to keep going.
You got to keep going.
Like, we're not dead yet.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I think when you say, the social constructs, it's like I grew up with this, I'm running out of time. But especially for women, but it's helped me in my career because it helped me stay focused. But I guess once you reach a certain age, you're like, okay, well, how much time do I really have left? But I'm trying to restructure that mindset by saying, well, hey, this is just a different era.
Yeah.
So it's like, what else you got?
Exactly.
We got to keep pushing. Like, this is a different era. Now you've learned what you've learned in your 20s, 30s, or whatever. What are you going to do now to shape the next part? You know what I mean?
100%.
So when I think of giving up, I just think of, you can't.
Yeah.
You got to keep going.
Not an option.
Ever.
Yeah. I mean, unless you want to be like kind of chilling out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we're like that. And I think what's really inspiring to me is there's so many people that have made it later in their careers and like done these drastic different changes and shifts from their lives, and suddenly it clicked and it worked. And I find that really inspiring, especially as I get older. I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, stop being so concerned with time and age and all of these things. Yes, as women, like that whole age cloud is so heavy and it hangs on us for many reasons, you know, whether it's like having a family or having a career and things like that. But here to say, like, life is not, what do they say? God laughs as you make plans.
Yeah.
Like, life is what happens to you when you're busy making plans.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is that a Beatles quote?
I don't know, but I have that in my Instagram profile where it says we can plan, but God decides at the end of the day. So it's like, it's about keeping faith, you know, keeping, you know, your mind open, and just living with gratitude. That's something that I'm learning, that it's like every day is a new day. And you know, we're all doing it for the first time. Nobody has the correct answers, and nobody has the right way to do life. You know what I mean? So it's like, what is important to you? How do you want to, you know, move forward? And who cares about your age? Do whatever the hell you want, as long as your body is able to do it. I'm not saying go jump and do certain things your body can't do, twists and turns no more. But I'm just saying, it's, you know, if you want to do those twists and turns, what do you got to do to get there? You know, you got to train, you got to do what you got to do. And, you know, I'm trying to stop thinking about that age limit and the age gaps and all that stuff, because it really doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want that you feel that you can do.
I would argue that being on the dance floor keeps us young enough.
I don't have bad knees when I'm on the dance floor.
It like keeps us going, you know. I feel like I stay young and like, you know, ready for whatever is ahead of me, because I feel like
my back doesn't ache, my joints are fine.
My feet are always hurting though.
My feet, I mean, now
if you know me, you know I'm complaining about my feet. Like,
I wear such comfortable heels that I don't have these issues anymore, but I get it.
Get those.
I mean, I've graduated to wedges. Because
shout out wedges.
I can't do any other type of shoe, or kitten heels. Those are back now in style. But
well, you're tall, you get away with that.
I do.
Right? Like, I'm a shorty over here. Like, I need those stilettos, and then I cry through it all. But you know,
hey, at least you're exactly, and you're going through it, having the time of your life. Having the time of your life. Okay, so you know, gathering all of your life experience, everything that you do in a daily, and whether it be fun or not, what does success for you mean as of today?
That's actually a really great question. I think I look at success in two different ways. I think just in the world we live in, financial stability is definitely a marker of success for me.
Yeah.
Can't say I'm there yet.
Nope.
Trying to get there.
And we will.
Yeah. But I think that is definitely a marker for me, where I'm not, and not like I want to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Let's put it out there.
Hey.
We're putting it out there.
Yeah,
right?
it's already out there. Yeah. Money, we're coming.
Yeah, exactly. So not that, just like not having to be too stressed, like to be able to live your life without too much stress, and be able to like invest in yourself as well as in the things you want to do. So I think sadly money is the way that works. So I do look at that as a marker. And then impact. I think impact to me is like, I want to know that I've left the world better, and I want to know that I've made an impact, whether it's on my community, I've been able to support people, like I've been able to just make a mark in a way that has been helpful. I think that's really important to me. You know, my father used to be that sort of person, like where people, I think when you pass and people speak about you, and they speak about you in a sense of like you really made an impact on their lives, like that's really important. Not to get morose,
no, it's fine.
Dark, but I think that was a moment for me where I was like, yeah, that's the kind of mark I want to leave. So, you know, you want to be remembered for for just being good to the people around you and being able to use what you have to help everyone around you. So my networking, as much as I enjoy meeting people because I'm such a people person, like I love to get to know new people and get to know their stories and what they do and all of that. At the end of the day, it's about like sharing resources as well.
Correct.
That's something I'm really passionate about. Like nothing makes me happier than connecting people and being like, y'all could really do some magic
same way,
together,
actually,
you know?
yes. Yeah.
So it's so cool. So yeah, impact I think is my other mark of success. How are you gonna remember me?
Honestly,
when you don't know me anymore.
As I'm getting older, I'm thinking about like, am I making an impact on anyone's lives? And I feel like the answer is no. I have no idea, but I know that it's not. But it's like, okay, that means that's just a marker for me to know I got to do or want to do more. So I do agree
You
with
want
you
to.
that I really do.
Gotta do.
Yeah.
Like, you're good. You're doing everything.
Well,
this is a platform you're highlighting and spotlighting people,
Yeah.
and this is huge because people get to learn about what's happening and
meet
making an impact.
fellow commuters. Fellow community members of Ottawa, and just kind of getting everybody to speak on what it is that they do and what's important to them, because I feel like there's people that are struggling, like not knowing where they're going and what they're doing, and they may be in the same space as you, or they want to make a career change but they're too afraid, or
don't know how to get there.
They don't know how to get there. So I think it's important to speak on these things.
Absolutely.
And I guess my last question for you today is, what advice would you give your younger self?
Like I'm still talking. My therapist tries to make me do that inner child work, and I'm always like, I don't think we're telling each other anything new. My inner child is like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. We get it.
I think if I had to, as I this feels like a therapy session for me now. As I think about what I would tell my younger self, I'm like, there's a lot of things actually. Not to get so hung up on the timeline, because I think that I spent a long part of my life just stressing about that time. I was like, okay, everything has to happen with this sort of time frame. Allowing myself to explore other things. I think as much as I love the law, I kind of kept myself from being able to gain these other skills that I feel like I'm doing it now, which is fine. But like, I wish I'd leaned into it a little more openly, but not in a negative sort of back talk kind of way. It's just, it would have been nice to just feel like you can be open and gain other skills. You don't have to walk this beaten path that's being out for you.
Right.
So yeah, I think more of that, like just trust the process. Everything will be fine.
Right.
You got this, it'll all work out. Even in your toughest moments, you gotta like believe in yourself. And it may not be what you planned, but you will figure it out.
But it's okay.
And then you'll have like a cute dog.
That's it.
And she'll be the diva of your life. Hey, who knew? Like,
I love that.
Silly stuff.
I love that. And I too think about, what it is I would say to my younger self. And I think the biggest thing that screams to me is, you don't got to worry about everybody else and what they're thinking about what you're doing.
that's a hard one.
Because I think a good portion of my life, I was a people pleaser. I haven't been a people pleaser for so long. In fact, I will unplease you very quickly.
Love that. I need to get some of that energy.
I can teach you how to unplease people.
Watch out, y'all. We're coming.
I do not care. But I think that's the biggest thing that, I would tell my younger self is, dark days don't last. Those emotions that you carry, because they're big emotions, it'll pass. And then once it passes, it's like nothing ever happened. And then you're going to grow through it. And everything will be okay. And even though I know my stubborn self will never believe that, I would try to guide myself to understand that this is your life, and it'll go exactly how you want it to go. And don't think so much of what other people are thinking, what people think that you need to do. It's about what you need to do and what you want to do and what speaks to you. And
100%.
Yeah.
People pleasing is a tough one to get out of.
That's
it's
a
like
whole
a
other
conditioned
thing.
thing. Yeah, living for yourself,
hard.
Especially as women, it's not something that we allow ourselves until we we grow and mature and like experience things and realize we can do things for us as well.
And that's it. And I think, the biggest takeaway from our discussion for people is to kind of, grow within who you are.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay stagnant. Find what works for you, because clearly that's what you do. Yeah. And, do just enough to make yourself feel like you've made some kind of impact, right? Yeah. And it's okay to have things not go as planned. It's so okay.
It's just never gonna go as planned.
Never, ever.
I mean, maybe for some, but it's not always gonna go as planned.
I mean, some people are content, and they're doing exactly what they knew they wanted to do and are doing. But then there's a lot of us, like me and you, that we are just so ambitious in a way where one thing is just not enough. Like, what's next?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah.
Yeah, I think another lesson for me has always been about also accepting, I think even being comfortable in your body, all of these things are pieces that I've just gotten over and I'm getting over it and learning. So there's a lot of things, but
but I'm a big believer as we are living out every choice we've ever made, whether it be good, whether it be bad, but we are living in consequence. And if you don't like something, you can change it.
You can design this life the way you want it to be. And there may be extenuating circumstances that we don't have a lot of control over, but trust and believe that you are resilient.
Correct. Oh, very resilient. Absolutely. But I want to thank you for coming on True Talks with Ems.
Last plug though, we got to get people to come out to our events.
Oh my God. So I guess the next event that I will be at, not necessarily that she would be at because she's outside, doing other stuff as well. But we will be at the Soleil events this summer, the rooftop parties every Sundays from 3 to 9, featuring DJ Mace and other amazing DJs around the city. It's very much R&B, reggae, soca, whatever. For grown folks, that's the key. But youngins, don't be too shy or afraid. But it's for the grown folks, and it's a blast.
Yeah,
it's a blast. Yeah. And you got to look it up. I'll do a little link here. So that people can come and join us, network with us on the rooftop this summer or whatever events we got going on. And please follow Kavita. She is super informative.
Come out to the events that I host as well. We've got some live music events. If you're into neo soul R&B, we do Ottawa Sound Circle. So come check it out. A great band that we have called Soundproof, and I host a social networking event as well. We're all about the platonic social networking, connection, community building. So just follow me.
Yes, follow her, please.
And I'll let you know.
Yes, thank you so much, Kavita.
Thank you for having me. This
Absolutely.
is so much fun.
Until next time.
Yes.